Hello Internet, and welcome to Ramblings of a Madman. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Sean and Stuart for a shallow and probably uninformed dive into the world of unexplained mysteries, conspiracy theories, and the supernatural. And we're back for more chat, as we always are.
And it's
all the
good
chat,
to be
all the time.
back.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I had a beer on Friday, not inside my room. It was brilliant.
You had a beer in the kitchen?
Yes, because I can't afford to go out. No.
No, we actually saw each other. We saw actual people in the real world. It was amazing. Take that, pandemic. We're winning. But this week, we've sent Sean down into the mines to mine out the mysteries for us, because I was too lazy to do it. And hopefully he's found something cool. Maybe the elusive Antarctica mystery to complete the set.
The trifecta.
The seven factor.
I still laughed about that when I listened back to the last episode.
There's a reference. Go back to the last episode and if you don't understand it.
Well.
Well.
I don't know how to follow that.
I guess it's not Antarctica. He's not excited.
I didn't really have my own intro planned, but now I'm like, right. We're going to mine the internet. Because I've been mining the internet for mysteries, which is where we get all of our mysteries from anyway. Don't follow me up on that. That's where we get all of our mysteries from anyway.
Are we Bitcoin miners now? Have you bought all of the graphics cards?
This one is an internet mystery. Cicada 3301. Either of you heard about it?
Yes, a classic.
Classic.
Every mystery podcast has to cover this at some point.
Yeah, it's ticking the box, isn't it?
I don't know it.
Good.
Perfect.
You'll be the guinea pig.
Oh no! I swear I'm always the guinea pig.
But just before we get into the topic, do the shilling as usual. You thought you'd escape this time, but no.
I was getting excited that we passed it.
Sean, shouldn't you be doing the shilling?
Yeah, go on then.
Go on the spot. Go for it.
With a mouthful of water, like. Ramblings of Madman podcast. You can find us on all your favourite podcast streaming platforms. There you go. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts now, Spotify, Podbean,
YouTube.
That's a good one. Dab Radio.
Sure, maybe someday.
I don't know.
When we go back in time to the 50s.
Yep.
Give us a like and subscribe. Everything. Follow us. Leave a rating. It does help us out. And I know how you feel now, Alex. I feel disgusting. I don't want to do this again. Stuart will have to do it at some point. No, but it does help us out, guys. Yeah. So it's a matter how much of a difference a like or something on YouTube makes, according to the way the algorithms work.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, blow our mind, Sean.
Right then, Cicada 3301. Let's get into it. So on the 4th of January 2012, on a website some people may have heard of called 4chan.
The best site.
Difficult. I'd say it's like Reddit, but
it's like extreme Reddit.
It's like Reddit, but more degenerate.
Yeah, which is...
It's hard to do.
You've been on Reddit.
But they've done...
So, 4th of January 2012 on 4chan. There was an anonymous post of an image that had... it was just a black background with white text on it. And it says, "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you to the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck, 3301.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. So, like you said, Alex, you're pretty... You know about this already. You've heard about it, and you know roughly where it leads. Stu, what would you think hearing that the first time? Or reading it?
So... It reminds me a little bit of, there was a couple of years ago now, I think, the UK government were trying to hire people for code breaking and things for GCHQ. Mm-hmm. And they released a load of codes like that, and they were trying to find somebody that was capable of cracking it. That basically guaranteed you a job interview if you could crack it.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me that kind of vibe, like looking for code breaking or code cracking.
Cryptographers.
Yeah.
Did they do it anonymously though? I don't imagine they would have, right?
No, it was listed formally as almost like a job advert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This isn't.
Well, this is signed 3301, but that's about it.
What is that? No one knows.
So this was actually the start of a chain of puzzles. Inside the image, like in the files of the image, and I was half looking forward to doing this, but I need to genuinely make out I'm really not an expert on this. Like this goes like serious into coding, cryptography, steganography, which is hiding images within images.
No, it's not stegosauruses.
No, it's sadly not dinosaurs.
Damn it.
You are an expert in stegosauruses as well, so your talent's wasted here.
Yeah, this goes hard into all those sort of things, and I'll do my best because I did a lot of research. I haven't included everything, just as a disclaimer, especially to you, Alex. You'll notice that I probably missed out quite a bit. I'm going to go into some details on some of the puzzles, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So inside the image, they were able to find like an image within the image. So a lot of the puzzles that I'm not going to mention, it's steganography, which is hiding images inside code and all that sort of stuff. So someone managed to find this image, that the text within that image was a hint towards using a tool called Outguess, which is pretty much through all the Cicada puzzles. They use the solution is Outguess, which takes all the data from a file or an image and breaks it down into like other text, and then there'll be what people found was that there was messages hidden within this text, within the code, within the, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
it's imageception, isn't it?
Imageception, which is steganography.
So you said the puzzles were like an image, and then that image had an image inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you said before that there was a series of puzzles. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so this is basically the first puzzle.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah, this is like, well, those were like stages in the first puzzle, I guess, but then it just goes on and there's a chain. And there was like a community that I mean, there's still a big community around it. We'll get to that. But like, they were still trying to decode these puzzles as a group, and it was like public because it was like this massive uproar. Some people disclaiming it, obviously, but people jumped onto this quite a bit. And then they found more things. There was a clue that led to a phone number. And when they rang that phone number, it was a recorded message and said something along the lines of, the answer has been in front of you this entire time. Go back to the image, or something like that. And then they found out that the solution was the resolution of the image, which was very specific, like 502 by 566 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they added them together with 3301, and then they put .com on the end of it, and then it was a website. You know what I mean? There's loads of these little crazy things, yeah. And then once they got to that website, it basically said to wait. Patience is a virtue. Wait. Come back on, I think it was the 7th of January at a certain time, right?
Same year?
So this,
or
same year, yeah, like 3 days later.
Okay.
Right. So this has been going on like over a couple of days. This started gaining traction. People started working things out. And eventually you've got this website that says come back at this point. So the people who were at that stage, and I think what I could gather is like people were finding out the stuff and then revealing information. Some people might have been keeping it to themselves, like doing it alone or in just like small private groups, but a lot of the information was getting shared.
Yeah, I'm like, it was a big group effort from what I understand.
From a public viewpoint, there was a big group though.
Yeah.
There might have been other groups, but on this website, after the time elapsed, there was a lot of people being quite tentative, like, are they actually going to post anything? They posted coordinates, real world coordinates. So I'm going to send you a quick link now.
Wait, is this One Piece?
I know, it said the Grand Line. I was like, is that a reference? The people who made that map, it wasn't Cicada that called it the Grand Line.
And this line is a sequence of coordinates from
basically
puzzles.
Forget the line, but basically those coordinates were what appeared.
Okay.
And
yeah, so I'll put it down in the description, but basically Sean's given us a link to Google Maps, and it shows satellite view of the Earth, and there's various different pins placed on it of places, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big purple line going through them across the globe.
Yeah, so the points on the map, you can see they're like, there's France, Moscow, I think there's some in South Korea, there's a couple across America. So obviously these coordinates were real places in the world, which is, you've gone from some quite intense, cryptographic puzzles, coding, hacking style, like this wouldn't be out of place in a movie, would it? Like a sci-fi tech movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely not.
And now it's gone past that. It's now real world. You've got to now travel to these spots. It's bigger. It's not just some guy on his computer in the middle of nowhere making all these random puzzles. This feels like a big organization now, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a global thing, it seems like.
Yeah. People go to these coordinates and they find posters with a printing of, like a black and white printing of a cicada and a QR code.
Cicada was here.
Cicada was here.
2012.
Okay, so those QR codes led on to another clue. Eventually it led to a poem called Agrippa. And there was, in this poem, Agrippa, they had basically given like a cipher or a code to find a hidden message. If you know what I mean. Like there was numbers representing which paragraph, which line, which letter, which character in that line and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they could get the letters, and eventually it led to another clue. But this next clue stated basically, the clue that led to Agrippa was saying, you've shared too much at this point. You've now got to start doing it alone. The first people to arrive will be the ones who reach the next stage.
Uh-huh.
So it sounds like at this point, they've sort of allowed, or expected at least, everyone to share it. It's gone wild. Everyone knows about it. Everyone's like working together. But now they're like, no, it's a competition.
Yeah. Now they're like, we want the serious people.
Yeah.
Serious ciphers, code breakers to get on it.
Mm-hmm. So the next chain, once they'd worked out the code from the Agrippa poem, it led to a .onion website, which is a site, or .onion is a server, right, on the dark web.
Yeah.
Like .com. So now it's going into the dark web. And I don't know if anyone knows anything about the dark web. I hear that and I'm like straight away like, nah, I'm done. I'm out.
Hey, you want to buy a Hitman?
Anyone buy a Hitman? You want to buy some drugs? You want to buy a person? Dark web.
I could go for a person.
There's so many things on the dark web. It's completely uncontrolled.
Yeah, I think it's very exaggerated though.
It's exaggerated, but it's also it was designed to be able to hide. It was designed for privacy. So going to this .onion website on the dark web, they were given invites, and a message later came out publicly that they had who they needed, and then nothing.
Oh, what? So like radio silence after that?
Radio silence, yeah. Well, this is the thing with, technically, by this point, they'd only put out 2 messages. So they put out the initial one, they'd let people follow the trail, and once people had got to this website where they would get invitations, they then released long story short, we've got what we want, don't bother trying. So in that same year, there's still a lot of hype around it, but by probably December, everyone had lost interest and no one was talking about it.
Which is unsurprising.
Yeah, because there's a big bit of hype around it, but then nothing actually came of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of had its moment in the sun. It's been trending on social media, and then people have forgotten about it because nothing's happening.
Or did it? Or was it the last thing? Because on the 5th of January in 2013, exactly 365 days later, a
Nothing
second
happened.
message came out.
Oh.
A second message came out. So same style of image and text as the first one. And it said, "Hello again. Our search for intelligent individuals now continues. The first clue is hidden within this image. Fuck. The first clue is hidden within this message. Fuck."
It's the fact that you went, no, hang on, I'm going to correct myself, and then said the same line again.
Every time I read image, I read message. Message comes out my mouth for some reason. It's so annoying. The first clue is hidden within this message.
Nope.
Image!
Nope, try again.
The first clue... The first clue is hidden within this image. Find it, and it will lead you to the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it through. Good luck, 3301.
And is this posted on 4chan again?
Yeah. Same place, still anonymous in terms of like who posted it.
Well, it has to be anonymous, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah,
Every single person's
every
anonymous.
single time you go on it, you're given a number, like anon 724.
Right, okay.
And it changes every time. So,
Which is why there's probably a bit more depravity on there.
yeah. It's hard to track the degenerates down.
Exactly.
But, like, at this point, like, we have no idea whether this is a copycat or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's anonymous, so...
Well, this is the thing, right? So the first message generated, obviously, a lot of interest. They solved the puzzles, and then it just kind of went dark because they were like, oh, well, whoever... You know, there was probably a lot of people claiming that they were either 3301 or that they had got through to the final puzzle. But there was no, like, proof.
Yeah.
But I do, in terms of working out if it was actually them or not, most messages after the first one had a PGP signature. I don't know what that means at all. All I know is that every bit of correspondence they have with the public, or even the solvers, was always with a PGP signature, which I think is just to...
Is it literally like
an electronic fingerprint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to verify this is from...
This is definitely from 3301, yeah. And
I was going to say, also, there's something in the idea that them verifying it makes it real again, isn't it? Rather than it just being something that's been generated by a website as a troll, like someone's just picked a random picture and just put a...
Yeah, so, but one thing as well, like, once this Cicada 3301 thing started, there was a lot of imitators claiming to be the same thing, you know, copycats basically, and people did actually waste a lot of time trying to follow those clues.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me.
Yeah. So this second image came out, and it was obviously Cicada, so people got bored of it. They were like, oh crap, hang on, this is a second chance. So once again, it was very similar to the first one, image inside the image. They used the program outguess, and there was clues that led to, in this case, to a book called The Law.
LAW?
LAW or LOW?
LAW.
Okay.
There was a Latin translate. It was translated from Latin.
They must have to update that book all the time. Because, like, the law changes all the time.
No, this is like the clues that led up to the book were about, oh, this is a book that once you've read it, you should destroy it. It's a really old book, and the way that it's written is like it's illegal to actually read this book. I'm guessing when it was written and the country it was written in, that kind of text and the way, you know, what it was all about was whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that it feels like a genuinely appropriate book for this kind of thing. You know, it's very secretive. It's, you know...
I want to read this book now.
Yeah. The secret code in that book led to a Dropbox file. They found out quite quickly that if you booted your computer from that image, it would load up an operating system. So instead of Windows, it would load up an operating system of 3301 called Cicada.
How do they figure this stuff out? It's crazy, isn't it?
It's mad. I am really simplifying this. I'm dumbing it down so much because, one, this would be a 3-hour episode at least. The amount of content I looked in just to make notes on this for this episode, it's insane. And then the level of complexity and everything is mad. Like you could tell they were looking for the best of the best, and it's mad. You are correct. But basically, they found this operating system, and when they loaded it up, long story short, they found a music file. There was actually a song, like a MP3.
Was it by the Beatles by any chance?
It was not. It was not called Everyday Chemistry. It was called the Instar Emergence.
All one word?
The Instar is one word, and then space emergence. So you can find that actually on YouTube. Look up Cicada 3301, the Instar Emergence. It's actually a nice little song. It starts off with an acoustic guitar, a little bit country, and then it progressively gets a bit more fuller, if that makes sense. Like there's a couple of effects on the guitar. I think there's a drum kit or something. It starts off nice and progressively gets a bit more like unerring, I guess. I felt when I was listening to it, it became a bit more sci-fi. Is that the best way I can describe it?
Is this a specific song for Cicada? It's not from an artist or anything?
No, I think I don't know if it was written by Cicada or 3301 rather, but it is an original music file.
Okay.
And if it was from a band or an artist, no one's ever found out who it was.
Yeah.
So, again, with steganography, images inside images, text inside, messages inside messages, they were able to run that through some kind of coding system, and there ended up being another clue. There ended up being an image inside it, which is the gematria.
Sure.
I'm going to go gematria. Gematria Primus. It's made by 3301, but it's like a table, like a code cipher for translating Anglo-Saxon runes. Like the Anglo-Saxon or like Dwarvish Norse. There you go.
There's a big difference between all those three. It could be Anglo-Saxon, or it could be the one made by Tolkien.
Anglo-Saxon is... They use the same runes as, like, the Norse, right?
It's the dwarves from Moria.
No, not the dwarves. No.
That's what you said.
I said dwarves, but, like, it's like dwarvish runes from... Yeah, okay.
Speak, friend, and enter. Wait, that's Elvish.
That was Elvish. You nerd. Right, moving on. Anyway, there was a hidden message within that, and then there was basically different clues to .onion addresses on the dark web. Eventually, it reached another set of coordinates. So that image that I sent with the all the coordinates on the map, that actually includes the second set as well, which I didn't want to spoil.
Okay.
So that I think there was about 7 or 8 in the first one, and then a similar number in the second one. So once again, these were real places in the world. And once again, people went out and found posters, again with the cicada, but this time with a phone number.
Call for a good time.
Call for a good time. Well, technically, people were having a whale of a time with us, right? There are pictures you can find on the internet of this as well, like of the actual physical posters that have been posted. There's one video of a guy who found it in South Korea, and it was like sellotaped to a bike shelter.
Yeah, they're not very big, are they? They're like little...
They're A4 size pieces, it looked like. Not every single one was documented with a picture. I'm guessing because the people who found them stayed quiet. But you can find a number of them as images.
So one here says 166.586.10.33 access YF.
Yeah.
That was in Okinawa.
Phone it now. See what happens.
Imagine it rings Alex. He's like, oh crap, there's a ruse. Hangs up.
Someone's actually just bought that phone number, just a guy. He's like, stop calling about Cicada. God, my name's Jeremy. I have no idea what you're on about.
If only.
If only.
Because those clues ended leading up similar to the first thing, to another .onion address.
What, the phone number?
The phone number.
Did it have another recorded message?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
So Jeremy's answer phone goes off and goes, please will you
just go to this website. They told me to say go to
ramblingsofamadman.onion.
.onion.
Someone's made that.
Do not go to ramblingsofamadman.onion. Do not go to a .onion
We are
website.
in no way affiliated with
ramblingsofmadman.onion. The clues ended up leading to the clues ended up leading to a personality style test.
So it's BuzzFeed.
Where bit more in depth than that. It was like maybe like an aptitude test as well. You know what I mean? Like some of the questions, right? So they had a statement like there is no truth, and then you'd say if you agree, disagree, but then there was also an option of like meaningless. There was a few different responses you could put, and the responses were the same for each one, right? But they had what was it? There is no truth. What you are is more important than what you do. This sentence is false. You cannot step into the same river twice, which I liked.
It's like a Japanese proverb.
Well, that's the thing. So the whole time that these questions or these statements with whatever were coming out, there was a timer going. So it was clearly still a test. You know, it wasn't just
and
a
could
random
it only be done
BuzzFeed quiz. BuzzFeed quiz. BuzzFeed. It could only be done once. And once you'd submitted it, that was it.
So if you ran out of time, you couldn't revisit the website?
In that case, I guess. I mean, with the dark web and .onion files, they can do anything. Like, if you log in with the same IP address, they'd probably be able to block you out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So from this point onwards, in terms of this, like, second set of clues, they're all leaks. Like, all the information that came out after that was just leaks. Because there was in 2020, so last year, someone found in like I don't know how they found it. It said something like they found it in like a file dump somewhere, which I took that as like a bin for files.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But an image dump can just be somewhere where you just save files as well, I thought. Anyway, someone found a leaked message in 2020, which I will read out for you now. Yeah, I'll read some snippets of it because it basically says at the top, do not share this information.
You're worried they're going to get you. Like 5% maybe.
Where is it? Do not share this information. But then it says basically, congratulations, your testing has finally come to an end. We hope you have enjoyed the vacation, in quotation marks, over the last few weeks. You'll be very busy now, should you choose to join us. There are 2 final steps. Although there won't be any hidden codes or secret messages, your physical treasure hunts. The first of these is only honesty. We have always been honest with you, and we shall continue to be honest with you, and we expect you to be honest with us in the future. Basically, in short, it goes on to say about how they are not hackers. They're not associated with any illegal activities whatsoever. We are not a Warriors group. We do not get... if you are engaged in illegal activity, we ask that you cease any and all illegal activities or decline membership at this time. We will not ask questions if you decline. However, if you lie to us, we will find out. And at that point, I'm more inclined to believe that they will find out. But then they asked a few questions, right? And it said, please answer the next few questions and send your encrypted responses to C1231507051321@gmail.com if anyone wants to try it. I don't think it'll work by this point.
Answer those questions after you listen to this podcast and send it to them.
Yeah. But there's basically 3 questions.
How many zombies have you killed? How many people have you killed? Why? Anyone?
I can't remember what that's from. Is it Zombieland?
It's from Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. The obvious one. The obvious answer. I didn't go with it. The obvious reference. Right, the 3 questions were, do you believe that every human being has a right to privacy and anonymity and is within their rights to use tools which help obtain and maintain privacy? For example, cache, strong encryption, anonymity software, etc. So that's quite for me, like on character for
like
what
internet
they seem to be
people,
going for. Yeah. Also, do you believe that information should be free? And do you believe that censorship harms humanity? We look forward to hearing from you, 3301.
Now, like, all those questions are very similar. They're almost the same question.
Yeah. They're all, do you value your privacy? Long story short.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then the information I found stated that this one that was found in 2020 didn't have a PGP signature. Like the PGP signature was cut out. But I'm looking at this now that I've just read out, and there is actually a PGP signature at the bottom. But I don't know if that's correct or not, if you know what I mean. I'm not trained to say that, well, I can see that there's a PGP signature at the bottom, so what's that? You know what I mean? So that was obviously leaked and found somewhere years later, literally last year. So for ages, people didn't know what was going on in terms of the second puzzle.
I wonder if like participants were told not to share information once they got to a specific point.
I guarantee they were told not to share this information.
Yeah, because it seems like at this point they've been filtered out into the hardcores versus the Tom, Dick and Harry that's having a go from their basement, aren't they?
Exactly. So, the year after, the 6th of January, 2014, so another 366 days, another message on 4chan, once again, same format. Hello. Epiphany is upon you. Your pilgrimage has begun. Enlightenment awaits. Good luck, 3301.
And now it's getting culty.
Now it's getting culty, right?
Yeah.
That's not, we're recruiting highly intelligent individuals. This is like...
Come with me to the promised land.
Exactly. Drink this soup.
Delicious.
Yeah, I'd be getting those kind of culty vibes at the moment. Let's be honest. Same again, though. Same process as the first ones. There was an image inside an image. They used outguess again, which led to a book called Self-Reliance and Other Essays by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Again, there was a cipher. So they're on theme with having similar puzzles to follow, which led to another .onion website.
Did they skip the real world stuff this time?
In this case, yes. So there was no coordinates in this third set of puzzles.
We don't care about the outside anymore.
The chain of puzzles led up to images of a book called the Liber Primus, or Primus. I think it's Primus, which is Latin for the first book.
Is it, though?
The Bible? Are they referring to?
Yeah, it's Latin for the first book. So those people quickly noticed that those were the same Anglo-Saxon runes from the Gematria Primus.
So what did it translate to?
So what did this all translate to? Even to this day, not every single page has been deciphered.
Mm-hmm. It seems that 17 have been done.
17 have already been solved. But on that link I sent you, 0.jpg onwards are unsolved. Like, people have not been able to work out what they say. Because even with that Gematria Primus, the encryption changes every time.
So if you're out there and you're a super genius, get on this and tell us what you find.
This is mad.
It is. It's crazy.
Like, there's 58 pages.
Yeah.
Only 17 by this point have been solved. But then I think only 2 of them, if I looked at the bottom...
I was just going to say, the final one, image 57 on that page, has a parable. It says, like the instar tunneling to the surface, we must shed our own circumferences, find the divinity within and emerge. And then has a picture of what I can only assume is...
a cicada.
A cicada? But it doesn't look anything like the other image of a cicada to me.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's changed. Is it like, do the cicadas go through cocoons, like metamorphosis?
No, they go underground, don't they? And they come out every 7 years or something stupid like that.
Well, it's funny you should say that, actually. Their gestation period is always prime numbers.
Mm. and then they come out and they cover literally every square surface in like some small town in Georgia or whatever.
Mad. The last one though, the song is the name of the song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the Instar Emergence is the name of the song, yeah.
And they talk about like the instar tunneling to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
What is an instar?
Sounds like a train.
Yeah, it's like the way it sounds as if it's coming from, well, obviously tunneling to the surface. It sounds like it's something that's, well, obviously under the surface but coming up. And everything talks about sort of shedding the weight of the world almost, doesn't it?
Well, we must shed our own circumferences, find the divinity within, and emerge. So I'm wondering if the Instar is the way, you know, their whole like, enlightenment's within you. You know what I mean? Is the Instar like your own enlightenment?
Mm.
But if you look at
Interestingly,
page 57...
For Latin, it says it's your form or likeness.
Mm-hmm.
And is a developmental stage of arthropods until sexual maturity is reached.
Nice.
So it is talking about, like, maturity, isn't it? Maturity and development. It does seem very religious and very culty, doesn't it?
Yes. Up to this point, like the first two puzzles, I don't know if you'll agree, I don't think it was culty. Like it was.
It might have.
It could have been.
It might have gotten culty, like at a point, to the participants, like to the, when they said like split up and do it on your own. It might have been like uncover your soul, peel back the pieces of yourself, and reveal the Instar to become your true cicada or whatever.
Yeah, now it's culty.
Yeah. And that's how they scare off the people, or make them stay. How the cults work.
Well, it's very culty or religious, because if you actually look at page 56, it says, an end. Within the deep web, there exists a page that hashes to numbers and letters. I'm not going to read all of them out. There's just a code. It is the duty of every pilgrim to seek out this page.
It's their Mecca. That's where you have to go to.
Yeah.
So what does it take you to?
Well, I don't know. I've tried to find where that goes to, but I don't think people have been able to work it out yet.
Thankfully, you can select it and right-click, search Google for this image.
But a lot of these...
No one's done that yet. Really that simple. We've solved it already.
Tells me exactly what to do, but it says here if I read it out loud, I'll get killed.
Well, I mean, it's worth it, so I'd say it's worth it for the content.
It's mad anyway. Yeah. But there's still a community that's trying to solve this. And it sounds like one of the videos I watched, they'd only sort of like worked out 2 pages, and they were going to like, I think DEF CON is a cryptologist convention in Las Vegas. They were turning up there in desperation, like, oh, you know, can anyone give us a hand working this out? They were going to like ex-NSA staff, the National Security Agency of America. I think that's National Security Agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
They would go into, you know, career cryptologists and stuff like that, like trying to get help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, so what do you think about that?
It's mad. I mean, the amount of things out there that still are unsolved, like codes and stuff. I mean, people are still trying to decode the Zodiac killer messages and stuff like that. So some things just never get solved because they physically can't.
Well, apparently there's like a 200-year-old puzzle that still hasn't been solved.
Mm-hmm.
And someone should start trying, right?
Just try harder, come on.
Just try harder. Right. After this, you're probably expecting a puzzle from 2015.
Mm-hmm. On the 7th of January.
You would be incorrect.
You'd be wrong. No one had solved the Liber Primus. Well, publicly at least.
Mm.
There was no contact from Cicada in 2015. There was, tell a lie, in May 2015, there was a message from 3301 saying that they were not involved in illegal activity, like pressing that home again. I don't know if you remember, there was a cyber attack on Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were slated in the media. 3301 was slated in the media for being involved in that. Or it was obviously speculation. Well, to be honest, they could have been involved in it. They could say whatever they want, both the media and 3301. But there was nothing. There was no public communication from 3301 when everyone was expecting it. And then they came out defending themselves. So they're obviously still active. In 2016, again, nothing apart from this message. And bear in mind, this is 2 years after the Liber Primus came out, right? Hello. The path lies empty. Epiphany seeks the devoted. Liber Primus is the way. Its words are the map, their meaning is the road, and their numbers are the direction. Seek and you will be found. Good luck, 3301. And at the bottom it says, beware false paths. So 2 things there people took from it is that Cicada has, 3301 hasn't gone away. They're still active. They're still waiting for people to complete it. And also, like a reminder, don't follow false paths. If you get any messages, make sure it's from us.
Yeah, it very much seems like this is their Bible and they really want people to get in with it.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they're patient as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all this kind of deeper understanding, isn't it? You're going to have to be really seriously devoted to be able to get a deeper understanding of what needs to be unraveled in terms of you being able to solve these clues.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit bizarre in the sense that, as we were looking, as you sent that last link, the one about the Liber Primus unsolved pages, given the vast majority of it hasn't been solved, you wonder whether or not there's enough information for it to be solved. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all a bit if they've given you some sort of cipher, if you've got the clue in how to unlock the cipher.
Well, that's the thing. They've got the Gematria Primus, but it's only, I think it only worked for some pages, and then they had to start finding other ways of cracking it.
But the origin of that Gematria Primus is that the one that was the image dump?
No, that was part of the second clue. Part of the second puzzle.
How did they get the Gematria Primus again?
They got the Gematria Primus because it was it was an image as part of a puzzle chain in the second set.
Got you. Because you wonder whether or not there's an unsolved solution that has another part to it. Because it's you've got some part of a cipher that you can use to interpret all the data, but then you need the sort of second part of the cipher in tandem with the first one to be able to...
Stu, get into the community that's trying to solve it, because that sounds like a good idea. Maybe the answer is still in front of their faces, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems strange that they just wouldn't give them the cipher. It must be there somewhere, right? They wouldn't give out a puzzle that can't be solved. Just to troll.
I agree with that. I think so. That's one of my theories that we'll come on to later. So before we go on to theories, I've still got a little bit more information about 2 of the people that came forward as successful candidates. So Marcus Warner said he was one of the ones who solved the first puzzle at the age of 15 years old.
Oh, I didn't know he was that young.
He was 15, apparently. And if you've looked into it before, Alex, you'll know that a lot of the stuff he's talking about is widely accepted as truth.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about how after a month of completing the first puzzle, he was placed into a hub or group within 3301 with a group of other people, and there was one representative of 3301 that used to talk to them in the chat room sort of thing. And their first task was they were asked to come up with a project for personal privacy. Come up with their own project on how people could keep themselves safe. Yeah. And one of the things this Marcus Warner came up with was quote unquote a dead man switch, so that it could erase all identity, so they could remain a ghost or whatever. It sounds like it never went through because he tried to get proof of concept to try and make sure that it worked, and he couldn't get anyone to prove it, either within the group or outside the group. And eventually they lost contact. Like 3301 just didn't answer. They disappeared, as if he was either dropped or if 3301 disappeared.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. It just sort of faded away, like the way he describes it.
Like they just stopped.
The
contact.
chain of events there, though, sounds much more like that he was dropped.
They ghosted him. He wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Perhaps, but it does sound like he was directly working with them. You know? I'm not sure. That's obviously the speculation that comes into it. One thing that Marcus Warner said in one of his interviews that he did was that there's a lot of quote-unquote coincidence from a lot of different sources. Like people speculating, well, is it a coincidence? It was the same time as the Snowden leaks. So the guy who did all the WikiLeaks stuff. Like very, very similar time. So the WikiLeaks thing happened, and then 3301 went dark.
Yeah. Wonder if there's some sort of link there. Or maybe it's just the fact that because Snowden got caught, they suddenly got worried about doing all this internet privacy abdication sort of stuff.
Maybe.
And they're definitely not doing anything illegal, like they've said many times, so...
Yeah, exactly. So he was basically probably the most popular person from the
he's
first
the one I know of.
set of puzzles. Yeah. There's also a guy who goes by the alias Nox Populi, Nox space Populi. He actually has a YouTube channel. He was one of the solvers of the second set of puzzles. And he's got a YouTube channel where he's followed everything. He's give in-depth details of exactly what happened, which...
Like in real time as it was going on?
I don't think it was.
Oh, okay.
I think it was recap on what happened.
Yeah.
I have a strong feeling like a lot of it going on was getting released and stuff, and the people who were making it public and helping each other out or whatever, that was happening as it happened. But I feel like the way that a lot of it talks about in the first and second puzzles, it was very fast-paced. So people wouldn't have had time to make these kind of in-depth...
I mean, it was only a couple of days, the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
got to that
it was
website.
3 days. But yeah, he does have a really good YouTube channel. Anyone listening to this, genuinely recommend if you're interested in more details of this, because I've definitely not done a good job of explaining the cryptology and steganography, all that sort of stuff. I'm not an expert. Anyway, he was one of the ones who completed that second puzzle, and after he submitted his email, because if you remember what I said, they said send your encrypted email with a PGP signature to this email address. They basically said, be patient, and then he never heard back.
He didn't make it, it looks like.
Well, I was thinking that, because he was told to be patient, right?
Yeah, it's
was he still just waiting?
It's like after a job interview when they say we'll be in touch, and they're never in touch.
But what if they were going to be in touch, but then he wasn't patient, started talking to the public, and then they were like, yeah, he's not right for us. He's made a YouTube channel, for God's sake. Explaining everything. Basically, these two guys are, again, not 100% proven, but they are believed to have been genuine winners. Successful participants. Or unsuccessful, maybe in Nox Populi's case. But both those guys, Marcus and Nox, they are part of the community that's trying to solve the Liber Primus now.
They're still on it.
I've not seen anything to say that they've stopped. The video I watched was a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. So they've been going basically since the Liber Primus came out. And I think they did say in that video that they sometimes do take breaks, but they always come back to it. There's basically like this, I think there's actually a Discord for it.
Yeah, there probably is.
So if anyone's interested, go for it. Because what they basically said was that the community, the majority are people who are just observing. They're not actually contributing. They just want to know what's going on and they're interested. Then there's a smaller group that are working on it. And then there's basically like 5, not ringleaders, that's the wrong word, but like the 5 of them who are quite close are the main ones on really they're on it every night, grinding, doing their best, trying to solve it.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of people don't have the necessary, not skill, but like they wouldn't be able to do something
Resilience.
as resilience, or just the ability to solve something as complicated as this. So,
well, this is the thing, right? This is why I think it's an interesting test, because it's not just knowledge. It's not just computer knowledge. You've got some of the clues and some of the like when he goes to that book and stuff, where the Ralph Waldo Emerson book, the clue was about the book. You had to know what the book was about to be able
it's
to
like old school
find that book.
cryptology.
Yeah. And you've got that, but then you do, so the knowledge and the skill side of it is there, but then they're really testing people's patience, resilience, passion, all that sort of stuff. It's crazy.
It's mad. It's just completely bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, we're running a podcast that looks into unsolved mysteries. So I don't know why I'm so dumbfounded that this mystery is not solved yet. Does that make sense? Because we're like, oh, there's a crime that was never solved. Like, oh yeah, that's cool. But I think this is because it's more recent and it's really ongoing. Like there are genuinely people still trying to work on it.
I think it's,
you know what I mean?
It's because it's above our heads as well. It's difficult for us to understand, even the flow of the puzzles and stuff like that. How they got to this point.
It is. We've skimmed over so much of it.
Yeah, I'm sure we have.
When when you watch more videos into exactly what they looked into, you'd need a genuine in-depth knowledge of coding, decoding, programming, everything, just to get started. I've never even heard of Outguess. It's just a program that can break down code, and I'm probably even chatting complete shit saying that because I don't even know if I'm right there. All I know is that it was whatever. Anyway, it's incredible. Should we go into some theories on what people think might be going on? Because obviously we haven't started asking the questions of exactly who are these people. You know what I mean? What is their purpose? What's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the big theories, which is definitely when this first came out, I think was people's biggest, was the main reaction, is that it's a ARG or alternate reality game, which is basically where a game designer or something, someone creating these sort of puzzles uses the real world as the setting for the game. Yeah,
and they're kind of like social experiments as well.
Social experiments,
How many people can we get involved in solving this puzzle?
Yeah. Well, one of the early examples of this is Wizards of the Coast in 1996 made an ARG called Webrunner: A Hidden Agenda. And it was basically just to advertise their upcoming game, Netrunner.
Yeah, and that's what they usually are. They're advertising things, aren't they?
Big advertising schemes, get people on board, get people hyped. Another example, maybe a bit more high profile, 2001, there was a game that was nicknamed The Beast, and it was to promote the movie Artificial Intelligence, or AI, that Bruce Willis one, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. With the kid from Sixth Sense. So those people who made The Beast were actually hired by Microsoft to make an ARG for Halo 2, which I disagree with the statement because it was such a popular game. I thought it would just sold millions anyway, but apparently it really heavily contributed to the hype around the game.
I mean, hype definitely, but this hype transfer to sales, we don't know.
Basically similar sort of thing. Sneaky coding, stuff like that. Maybe not as in depth, but like subliminal messaging, or
would it be like the equivalent of people being like, various bits of code found that are like, Half-Life confirmed, that kind of style one? Yeah,
that sort of thing. Like maybe not as in depth as Cicada, but still you're gonna need to work a bit hard to find Easter eggs. Easter eggs is the best way I can think of it. Right? Because a good example is the way that Portal teased Portal 2. They released an update for the game with the radios and stuff, and you had to put them in a certain place, and eventually it gave a transmission and hinted that the second game was coming out.
So what were they? What's the theory that they were an ARG for? What is Cicada supposed to be in that ARG?
Exactly. Like, what is it for?
Yeah, it has the makings of an ARG, but it doesn't have the end advertising goal that
Yeah.
They usually do.
It's not a real game, you know. There's been a few alternate reality games that have like ended in like, you know, big events where people actually meet up together and they experience the last cutscene, so to speak. You know what I mean?
What if they solve this book and it like advertises Battlefield 2? And it's like well out of date.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, maybe there is genuinely something that we're being teased about, but
it's interesting.
I don't think it's a commercial thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you've talked through it, one of the things that hasn't really come up is anything advertising. So, like, even the various websites that things are on, but like the map of coordinates, it's not like it's, unless there's a link between like the locations, it's not like it falls easily into this is a tour of this continent holiday brochure. It's like fairly well even spaced out places across the world. Nothing's got like lots and lots of advertising in it or subliminally advertising Coca-Cola or anything weird like that either that we know of.
Well, let's say it was a advertisement for tourism to these specific places, for example. Surely they'd have something more permanent than an A4 piece of paper. It gets ripped down instantly. You know what I mean? And there's been other speculation saying, like, you know, what if it's to promote a bug spray called Cicada? You know what I mean? Like loads of random stuff like that. People have been like...
Yeah, but it doesn't lead to the advert for that, so...
It doesn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
So I really don't think at all, I don't know if you guys are in agreement, completely discounting that it's commercial.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if anything, it's the opposite of advertising, because it's telling the people not to talk about it when they get to a certain point.
But then that's also generating more intrigue, because if you tell someone, no, you're not allowed to... you know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure I've solved it. I'm almost certainly 100% certain it's Advertising Fight Club, and we should all talk about it.
Right, okay, yeah. I get your point, yeah.
Theory number 2?
Theory number 2. You mentioned it already at the start when I asked, like, oh, what do you think, Stu? And you said, oh, well, it's, you know, like the MI5 or whatever doing recruitment. So the NSA the FBI departments with cryptology, you know, needing cryptology experts. What better way to get someone in who can crack the code that your own cryptologists have made? So it genuinely has been used. I think the NSA made one called "Can You Find It?" and then that at the end of it they had an invitation for an interview or whatever.
Okay.
So it has been used, like you said, for recruitment.
Yeah.
So specifically, this theory is saying that it's an NSA or an FBI or something, you know, like a government agency that has this sort of department they're trying to recruit.
Yeah. That seems to me like the most compelling one, up until the point where it started to become all culty.
Yes.
Because, like, at first, you might be like, oh, yeah, this is quite cool. This is essentially the easiest way to cut the wheat from the chaff and bring the people who you might actually want to interview. And essentially, it's a job advert with really harsh restrictions on who can apply for it. But then, obviously, if it continued, you've got the multiple points. The first point, did they not hire anybody, or do they still need an ongoing recruitment drive? But then it doesn't really, or rather, to me, I don't really understand why they would then go all sort of it's the cult element to it, or the whole thing about shedding your whatever it's called circumference. Yeah,
I mean, I've been going for a run every now and then. I'm trying to shed something. I've been trying to shed my circumference as well.
The problem I have with that theory is, like, the FBI and stuff, they are covert, but I don't think they do it quite that anonymously.
But they can say what they want. They could still be lying, but they have made comments like, you know, we're not associated with 3301. When we have done these sort of recruitment drives, we've been open about it. Sometimes, I think with the Can You Find It one that the NSA did, I think from day one it was obvious that it was the NSA. They published it, you know?
Yeah, like if you're doing essentially a job interview, surely there's some laws about knowing what you're applying for beforehand. I might be completely wrong, but that seems like common sense to me. That you should know that you're applying
I reckon
for a
it's
job.
recruitment, but not for employment. Like, they're obviously trying to recruit someone.
Yeah. Like,
but just
I don't know if it's another
ranks.
theory you've got, but I think it would be recruitment, but for a separate, like a private agency or something like that.
Yeah. But then the next few questions come in of like, well, what's the purpose past that? Like, why do they need people, right? But we keep saying they need people. What do they want? One big theory that I do like is, what if it is genuinely just one person? Or a much, much smaller group of people than what people actually believe? Because I said at the start, once this international thing went out and you had loads of... it wasn't just like in one local town, was it? It was international. It's across the world.
Yeah.
So it made it feel like there was way more people involved. But all the posters were within an hour travel of international airports. Some were actually in walking distance.
Yeah, like, it's a good question. Like, what do you... When you think of a group like this, how many people do you picture being involved in it? Because I picture a very small group, maybe like 10, 15 people.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Marcus Warner said was that they basically started, and I think it is actually in a document leaked somewhere from 3301, that they started out as just a small group of like-minded people, and then their numbers grew and grew, and now they're an international group. So they've said they're an international group.
Yeah, but you can be an international group and have 5 people.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking.
As long as they're all living in different places in the world.
Yeah.
Because like, geography is no issue on the internet, so...
Yeah. One of my side theories, like small theories that I've mentioned throughout, is that we don't have any more information, or we don't know of anyone else. We don't know who they've recruited, because literally the people who have been recruited have stayed quiet, and those are the people that they were looking for.
Yeah, they got the role filled, and then they don't need any more people.
Exactly. What if the Liber Primus has been solved? We just don't know it, because the people who have solved it have done what 3301 wanted them to do and staying quiet.
Well, I don't know about
the only
that.
issue with that, though, is that, yes, on the one hand, it might just be that they've solved it and they're keeping quiet, but the likelihood of, like, there's a big population in the world. The chances of every single person that solves it doing exactly what they say, unless somehow the code that gives you all this information also contains some sort of actual threat if you reveal the information, I feel like people would just want their 5 minutes of fame.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with saying that it might be solved is the way you've described a group still trying to solve it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's hard to imagine that, like, an individual or a couple of individuals have solved it and kept quiet when there's a group publicly trying to solve it and not having much luck.
Correct, yeah. Just as like a devil's advocate counter argument, one thing they've said is that they were trying to find people with a completely fresh pair of eyes. You know what I mean? So because they're so stuck with what they've tried, like, what if someone else has got a different mindset? They met a cryptographer, like a career cryptographer, and she was like, one of the things you need to do, you need to get into the mindset. Like, you'll be able to solve it easier if you know why they've done it in the first place. All that sort of stuff. So I agree with you. I'm just being devil's advocate. I agree with you. I think chances of them actually, if it actually have been solved, very, very low. But it's not impossible for someone, like either a small group or one person, to have done it by themselves and kept quiet.
When you said fresh eyes, I pictured them, like, literally wanting fresh eyes. And, like, that's why the people, you haven't heard from them, because they've taken their eyes and they died.
I mean, that's also a possibility. That Liber Primus gets culty, you know?
The other thing that we don't know to the full extent of is, those other people might be hiding in plain sight, using this to advertise other things, and have actually solved it, but there's no benefit to them releasing that they've solved it, and it's the whole... It's the anticipation of it being solved, or the anticipation of it not being solved, or not knowing how to get to the bottom of it, is what keeps it interesting. I think if you had an answer to this, or the next step was answered, and there was a much more boring outcome. Obviously, I know it wouldn't be unsolved then, and so therefore people wouldn't still be talking about it. But it may just be that the final result was massively over dramatized, and actually it is something stupid like an advertisement, and therefore for the people who are making YouTube videos out of it, keeping people out of the know generates their income. It drives the interest in the fact that it's unsolved.
Yeah. There is a theory that those guys made it to either get big or... Well, there was a joke in the comments as well, and they mentioned it in the video. What if these guys just made the Liber Primus to get friends? Because one of the messages of that, what they were trying to say is that, look, we don't even think it's possible to solve it by now, but the amount that we've learned along the way and the friends we've made and the people we've met, that's what's made it worth it, and that's why they're still interested in it. They don't even think they can solve it by this point.
I just love the idea that there might be a typo, and it's actually really easy to solve, and someone's just put like an N instead of an M when somebody's been typing it verbatim.
You know what? Genuinely, you say that, like, I don't know if you're joking or not, but one of the things this expert said is that sometimes you need to get into the mindset of whoever wrote it. Because what if they'd had a beer or something? What if they were drunk? Or what if they genuinely just made a mistake? And you're trying to solve this puzzle that has mistakes in it. Like, genuinely, what if that is the case?
Because it's like, when you do text to speech on your phone and it comes up with the word and you're like, what? I didn't say that.
I didn't say that. Yeah, so what if they text to speech the entire Liber Primus?
It just sounds
and then
like...
Google translated it into Anglo-Saxon runes. That's why it's not working.
No, it just sounds like they're speaking in tongues, and that's the weird symbols come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a big possibility. But I do also think that 3301 would have caught on to that, and they would have corrected it.
Yeah.
I don't know, anyway. So there's two more theories I've got. One is that it's just a cult.
It's always a possibility.
So specifically, Tim Daly from the Conservative Christian Family Research Council reported that he's looked into the whole thing, all their messages, and he reckons, yeah, they're definitely of the occult. They're on the dark web, for God's sake. He pointed out, I quote, that they offer a counterfeit promise of ultimate meaning through self-divination. Like, all this sort of, like, language. He's, as a religious man himself, he's probably pointed out, look, they're really religious. It could be just someone who, because in 3301 at the start, they were just very techy. They've made this elaborate puzzle and stuff like that, and for like whatever kind of recruitment drive. What if they're just throwing people off a bit, and it's all like hidden meanings, and it's not just the code and stuff that's cryptic. It's actually now the text that's cryptic. You know what I mean? On top of that,
yeah, maybe.
What if they're genuinely not the occult? So I've said that as a theory, saying that they are like an occult cult or whatever, but it could be both ways.
Yeah, it's hard to support an argument either way, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's easy to support an argument either way. It's hard to disprove either one.
Yes, that's a better statement. Yeah,
like, because there's plenty of evidence to show, like, look, they've got this whole book, and one of the things that was quite prevalent throughout all of it, and we have said how elaborate this thing is, but even the operating system that I mentioned that they booted from an image and stuff like that, the Cicada operating system, apparently that has got like Easter egg after Easter egg, and it's just like it's not just been made quick, you know what I mean? It's been painstakingly put together.
Yeah, whoever's done this is super into making these puzzles and stuff. They're having fun with it.
Yeah, incredibly. So the last theory, and I think this is the one with the most grounding to me, is that 3301 are remnants or still the same people that were in the Cypherpunk movement back in the late 80s and 90s. not to be confused with cyberpunks, cypherpunks. They were a group of activists against surveillance, and they promoted privacy and freedom of information, and it became quite apparent quite quick with the internet that the government and companies and stuff were able to monitor you. They were effectively able to watch over your shoulder and know what websites you were on and what you were doing. In some cases, don't get me wrong, for illegal activity, that's great. That's a perfect idea. But the cypherpunks were completely against surveillance.
Yeah.
Obviously, that fits in line with like the MO, the overall feel of what, at least in the first two puzzles, of what 3301 wanted to do. But there's more to it than that. So in the University of California in Berkeley, which was one of the information hubs, it was like one of the headquarters or whatever in the crypto wars. That's what they called it, apparently.
What a name.
It was one of their headquarters of the cypherpunks, right? So why this matters and why I don't think this is a coincidence. I think this is a genuine thing. One of the old ways that they used to communicate was through mailing lists, right? We can still email, like in my work, we still have mailing lists where an email will go out to a group of people that are on a mailing list. But in this case, it was more, they'd send an email to an alias, and then that alias would pass it on automatically.
Okay.
That alias, or that email address that they used to send to, was on a server called Cicada.
Ah.
Within the university.
Yeah.
So I think it was the email address, the name, at cicada.berkeley.
See, I was wondering where the specific link was between these two groups, and it's there.
But also, these cypherpunks, some of the people that were part of it were Julian Assange.
Oh.
From WikiLeaks as well as Snowden. What was the name? Roger Dingledine.
Sorry, what?
Roger, did I stutter? Roger Dingledine. He was the creator. He was creator of Tor, which is the what's it called?
The browser
the browser for the dark web. It's like the most commonly used one, right? For anyone who's not really clued up on that, it's like your Internet Explorer, your Firefox, your Google Chrome, but for the dark web.
That's a powerful name for the creator of Tor.
Roger Dingledine. I created the dark web, effectively. So these are like
man.
These are like the two of the names that came up for me when I was researching this. Like, oh, hang on, these aren't just a group of people. These are ones who've gone on to be still into that sort of thing. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think that seems right. Like I was thinking along similar lines, but I didn't have an exact group in mind because I don't really know much about this stuff. But a group of like-minded people who seem to care a lot about personal privacy and internet anonymity and that sort of stuff. Who want to recruit more people who also are into that sort of stuff for whatever reason. Various projects.
Yeah. Like, this is, without 3301, this is still like an ongoing thing anyway. And not, obviously internet privacy is an ongoing thing, but also in one of the videos I watched where it mentioned about the cypherpunks, and it was one of the professors actually in this University of Berkeley, and he was saying in this building we used to have a server called Cicada, but this professor who was giving this information, he's like one of the big names, or like the leading names of not so much the fight around internet privacy, but the discussion and the ongoing conversation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is an ongoing thing. He could be part of it.
Just,
you know what I mean?
To recycle the same point again, though. So, again, the first couple of times, like-minded people. But why... It's the the culty element and all the culty stuff that comes later on. Do we think that's... Is there the possibility that somebody else has taken on the same project or the same theme or whatever, and
I think
taken it in a different direction?
I think the first two are them interviewing for a job for this group, whatever group it might be. But they're definitely concerned about internet anonymity and privacy and things, and that's why they asked those 3 questions that were leaked in 2020, because they're very specifically about that topic. But either the third year is a copycat who wants to do a similar ARG to Cicada but has a different intent behind it.
So I think I don't think it would be a copycat. They had the same PGP signature.
Yeah, but I don't know if that can be.
Yeah, is that doable?
Like
is it easy to just
whatever.
copy?
I think the impression I got is that unless maybe that the people who originally were 3301 passed on the ownership of the signature somehow, maybe literally giving them the physical computer that they used. That the whole point of the PGP signature is that no one can replicate it.
Well, maybe it's a possibility that management changed between those years and it became more culty because they had a different sort of view behind what they wanted the group to do.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Especially if they're hiring for 2 years in a row. If they've hired a lot of new people who might have different mindset and they get more involved in it, then the whole vibe could change of the group.
So you're saying about a changeover of
Management.
Not even management. Maybe just having new people in it.
The most influential people or whatever. But what Mark Warner said, he lost contact around about the same time, if not the same time, that the whole thing with Edward Snowden happened. That was 2013.
What, so you think that Snowden was part of it? Is that what you mean?
On May 20th, 2013. So that would have been the second set of puzzles started in January 2013.
So you think that the loss of Snowden would change the vibe of the group because someone new would step up?
Irrelevant. Well, think about it. If he's part of WikiLeaks with Julian Assange, who's also known to, or in terms of the cypherpunk movement, as part of that.
You can definitely see how if you take 2 dominating influences out, the direction can suddenly change completely. I get that.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Stu?
It's a really tough one. I think part of the reason that I'm having difficulty kind of coming to a conclusion is the lack of understanding of the process in terms of the code breaking. But kind of on my simple level of understanding, it very much does sound much more like code breaking for some sort of advertisement of something, whether it's an advert for a job or it's an advert for some sort of niche product that certain people will be interested in as a Kickstarter or something weird like that. That strikes me as the most obvious thing as it started. Obviously, I've mentioned potential reasons why, but the shift in direction from what started off as seemingly code breaking for code breaking's fun to code breaking for religious text or culty text or whatever, it's just really difficult to get my head around. I think it might just be a direction change from the people that are involved in it, or it may just be a case of that the original people that set up the first 2 just left. They might have served their purpose, and then what somebody's done is take a husk of something that's already well established and use it for a completely different gain. I think that's probably what I think has happened here, but I'm not sure. I wouldn't bet my house on it, sort of thing.
Look, we really like what you've been doing the last 2 years. I mean, code breaking's fun, but it's not down with the kids nowadays. What we really need is culty religious texts. That's what all the kids are into nowadays.
Yeah, we need
Anglo-Saxon symbols.
Moria. We need to go to Moria, all right? The dwarves are calling.
When did the first Hobbit film get released?
2012?
Before 2013.
Before then, fine.
So you think it was an ARG for The Hobbit?
Yeah.
So what do you think, Sean?
I don't disagree with what either of you have come up with. I think that when I was looking this up, there was a lot of the word coincidence thrown around all over the place. And I think how many times can you call something a coincidence things that are all related are coincidence. You know what I mean? The whole cypherpunk thing, it's the same MO, it's the same sort of people involved that were with cypherpunks that are probably involved in 3301. The lineup with Edward Snowden, that whole fiasco, and then Mark Warner also losing contact. All of it just feels linked to me. You know?
Yeah, I imagine this sort of
the Cicada server.
This sort of like group of people, it's quite tight knit. Like it's a niche thing to be into cryptology and code breaking and internet privacy. Like that tangent. Like it's quite narrow.
I think. I mean, I'm interested in internet privacy. You know, I think everyone. I don't think there's anyone that wants to be watched. But like you're saying, it's very specifically the people who have an interest and a knowledge and a skill around cryptography.
Yeah, so it's not a stretch to say people who have been involved in that sort of thing in the past would continue to be involved in it. They gravitate together, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But what I was going to get onto about Stu, you were saying about the cultists' feeling of it in the third onwards, and like Alex, you were saying about the changeover of people. Personally, I disagree. I don't think it's off-brand. I still think it's part of... It's still 3301. It's still them. It's still the same people. I just... maybe this is now more of an experiment than a recruitment drive. So they got the team that they wanted in 2012 and then 13, and they were happy with who they've recruited. Maybe they didn't need to recruit anyone after that. So in 2014, their next thing was to put out this big thing. Right, who can solve this? Let's follow the people who go public with it. Let's see what happens.
Oh, so that like this was the project that they were doing, the previous people who'd been employed.
Maybe not necessarily a project they were looking at. I mean, this sounds like, you know, the level of detail and stuff that's gone into it. I reckon they would have been working on it before 2012. Even without the runes and stuff like that, you look at the language that's used. It's very not poetic, but like it's very
creepy.
Well written.
I'd describe it
creepy. Yeah, but there's a lot of meaning and cryptic meaning, and I said meaning twice. Meaning there's a lot of thought that's gone into it. So I agree that's why it feels more culty. But what if that's just they've tried to make it this elaborate puzzle by making it more engaging? So it's not just another, you know to do coding and you know knowledge on you have knowledge on art and stuff like that. Here's our own little bit of history that we've made up. And it might genuinely be cryptic version. The last page that said about shedding your circumference. And you know all that and stuff. Yeah.
Such a good insight.
You know, divinity and enlightenment, that's all within and whatever. That is a very not theatrical, well, maybe in one way theatrical, but also I'm trying to think of the right word. Shakespearean, like religious way of saying get woke. I'm trying to think of a better way of saying it. But that's
oh my god, that's got to be the name of the episode.
Get woke. Oh, great. Ramblings of a Madman is currently available on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. All the links are available on Twitter at Roam Podcast. That's ROAM Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.